long day, but it's been a great day. I always love coming to the mountains. I've got a new home to comfort in there in Fletcher. And we stay there all the time, and it's great. But what I'm happy about tonight is to introduce you to a great guy, Lee Greenwood. Lee and I have become friends. I've spent time in Nashville with he and Kim, Jenny and I have eaten. Lee spent time with me at our home, spent the night with me. We've been on the road some, and you know, you get to know someone when you spend time with them. You know, when I first started working with Lee Greenwood, you know, I said, well, he's just going to be some star that's got this big ego, this big as the whole world. But I can tell you, that's as far away from the truth as it can be. Lee Greenwood, Song of the Year, Grammy Award, traveled the world, been on planes with presidents, been all over. He's the type of guy that would say in Asheville, North Carolina, I'm just a redneck. That's my kind of guy. Lee, come on up here.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that very much.
Well, I appreciate that, Lee, and I'm just really glad to have you here in Hendersonville and Henderson County, and for folks to get to know you like I've known you. You know, we talked about last night about your good fortune last night on American Idol, and we were getting on the plane with Mel Humphreys and getting ready to fly up here, and you cut your cell phone on and talked to Kim. Why don't you tell the folks about that?
Well, you know, as we finished the event, I wanted to let my wife know that we were flying from Fayetteville to Asheville, and we only had a few moments between the venue and the plane, and so like I said, I turned on the phone. Hello, I turned on the phone immediately, and I got my wife in the house. Am I not connecting? Okay, and so she was watching American Idol with my two sons, and lo and behold, the moment that I called her, the girl on the show, it's Christy. Do I need to move forward some? Oh, okay. Check. Is that better? Okay. Christy began singing my song, God Bless the USA, which I wrote in 1983. And so I said, well, honey, I said, is that my song in the background? And my two boys, who are 12 and 9, were watching the TV, said, yes, it is. And so she held the cell phone to the TV, and I'm listening. You know, is that corny or what? Like I'm listening to my song on the cell phone. And so then, of course, when she finished the song, she got the judge's report, and Simon Cowell, who's the most, agnostic, guy, and he gave very glowing report, which I immediately sent him one of my signature putters, by the way, and some of my music. But my boy, who is 9 years old, who is going to many of my shows, and sit at the side of the stage and watched intently my whole performance. And he's just a wonderful example of a young man. And he said, Dad, you're famous. You're on American Idol. That's okay.
Well, that's great, Lee. You know, Lee and I have talked about, I've read Lee's book, or parts of Lee's book, and I know he's read parts of my book, and we have a lot of common things that have happened in our life. Lee writes in his book about his dad who had to join the Merchant Marine and had to go to World War II, and they had to move in with their grandparents and work on a farm, and came up sort of tough, and I talked about my book about growing up at the orphanage where my mom and dad worked, and we didn't have much either, and we were both born the same time, not the exact same time, but in 1942, and
You're older.
5 months.
Okay, well, that's older.
That's right. And we talked about, how folks who grew up during that time did face some hardship, did have to have some discipline, and what that's meant to us. And I just think that's really strange as to how we both came from humble background and beginnings and are up here on the stage tonight in Hendersonville with all these good folks out here.
Well, we have a lot more in common, In the words of Sean Hannity, you're a great American. And I think that that's what it takes, is people to remember what's most important, the priorities of life in this free country, and that's protection of what we have. And so many people have taken that for granted. A lot of the young people, of course, have joined our military, and that part of America is still proud and still knows what the challenges are of life. But through the election process, we still have a way that we can raise great people to a level where they can be an example and a role model for the rest of us. And that's one of the reasons I'm here, Senator, is to make sure that this process takes place and that you're put in place as a governor, because we need people who have your kind of character. And as you mentioned how we grew up, I'm a little concerned about my own sons who don't have the same example about growing up. I mean, we live in a neighborhood that's quite affluent. How am I going to get my kid a paper route, you know? I mean, I sold sweet pea flowers and figs to my Chinese market down the street with my bicycle to buy clothes. And how am I going to teach my kid to do that? You know, he knows the value of money, but it takes more people to do that. It takes a city and it takes a government to be representing what our past is and what we need to do to stay free.
You know, that's so true, Lee. One of the things that I face is they say it takes one generation to build a business, it takes another generation to manage a business, then the third generation ruins the business.
To tear it down.
And, you know, that's a problem we have. And, you know, in your book, you also talk about going to school, elementary school, and you were a farm boy, and you were different from the city boys. And in my book, I talk about leaving an orphanage and going to a public school and how I felt different. And about how in my life that really colored and changed my perception of people and the worth of every person and what prejudice could be and accepting people for what they are. And I know you did some of the same things, and I think we know that it sticks with you.
Oh, that prejudice weighs very heavily on you when you know that you're not accepted into your peer group. You walk into a room and everybody ignores you. I mean, you know that feeling.
Right.
And yeah, as a farm kid, I was from the other side of the tracks and really wasn't accepted. And it probably in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I didn't get a hold of that until the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And my passion and my avenue out of that depression or out of that oneness was my music. And yours was an escape through athletics.
Right. That's exactly right. And so, you know, that's been good. But, you know, I think, and I'm going to sort of close so they can hear you, but, you know, one of the things that I also think is common about our lives is our appreciation for the men who serve. Absolutely. Who, you know, and I know that freedom is not free. I know that you go overseas and sing for the troops. You know, I served for 4 years. I went to ROTC camp down in Fort Bragg and got my lieutenant bars as a lieutenant in the 2nd in the infantry. And then after I graduated from law school, went in as a JAG officer for 4 years. And I just happened to be stationed at the University of Virginia, which was where the JAG school was situated. And all we had was JAG officers. So we didn't have a whole lot of line officers. And so I got to do some things then that an Army lawyer normally wouldn't do. And just as you've talked about in your book and in your music, certain things get seared in your mind. It's like people know I'm in the cattle business. It's like taking a hot branding iron and branding a hide, and that never leaves you. And when you, as a young person, as an officer, lead a burial detail, and you take a flag and you give it to a wife or to a mother, or you're a notification officer, and you, as I have done, you go up to and knock on the door, and you have a mom come out, and you say, Secretary of the Army has instructed me to inform you that your son's not coming home. And when you do those things, you never forget those things. Never forget those things. And it's just appalling to me sometimes, as I know it is to you, to see the lack of patriotism sometimes in the public square. And I know that you are working hard to stand for America and what it means, and I'm trying to do my little bit. And I appreciate you, and I'm going to let you go get it.
All right, thank you. Senator Smith. All right, let's play some music. Actually, I've chosen a bunch of songs that may require a little bit of participation from the audience. I know this is a lively crowd because you've already had something to eat at the Peddler. It's a pretty good grill, by the way. Let's do some hand clapping. How about it? Hey, hey, yeah. Well, I know. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Oh, baby. My. Oh, I like it. about someone there by you. You had a dream again last night. Oh, you wonder why your dream just won't come true. So what you gonna do? Walk around with your head hung down. Maybe that's the reason you never found the one for you. You got to let your love shine through your eyes, your smile. You gotta let somebody know how you feel inside your heart. You find somebody who wants to be a part of your life. If you just believe and say that's what you're gonna do, one day love will find its way to you. Yeah, yeah. One day love will find its way to you. Oh, lively crowd. Good, good job. Well, another party, all your friends and smiles. You might meet someone new. Being close would be so nice. Oh, in this life, the chances are so few. Yeah, what you gonna do? Walk around with your head hung down. Maybe that's the reason you never found the one for you. You got to let your love shine through your eyes, your smile. You gotta let somebody know how you feel inside your heart. You find somebody who wants to be a part of your life. If you just believe, say that's what you're gonna do. One day love will find its way to you. Come on. One day love will find its way to you. Don't you ever think you're the only one. Oh, girl, somewhere in the world there's a lonely heart looking for someone. Your love shine through your eyes, your smile. You gotta let somebody know how you feel inside your heart. You will find one day love will find its way to you. Your eyes, your smile. You gotta let somebody know how you feel inside your heart. You will find one day love will find its way to you. An older song. You might remember this one. You don't remember this one, Isaac. It's too old for you. Well, they call my baby Patty, but her real name is Linda Lou. Well, they call my baby Patty, but her real name is Linda Lou. She's so fine, very pretty. Never know what my baby's gonna do. My Linda Lou. Now look. When my baby goes walking down the street, all the cats turn to look around. Everybody always tell me she's so good at town. Hey, all the cats keep looking for the cutest little girl in town. Now, I'm gonna marry that girl next Saturday night. Stay with her for the rest of my life. From now on, my roving days are through, and it's all because of that chick, Linda Lou, Linda Lou. Hey, tell me what you gonna do. I had a real bad dream last night. Honey, you said we were through. If you ever gonna leave me, gonna break my poor heart in two. This is me playing saxophone on the recording. Linda Lou. They call my baby Patty, but her real name is Linda Lou. She's so fine, very pretty. You know how my baby's gonna do. Hey, just like Fats Domino, play a little saxophone. Here we go. Hey, Linda Lou, she's so fine, and she's mine. Woo, yes, I know. If you ever meet her, you're gonna like her. I know you are. She's a woman of my